Good morning. Welcome to the live stream. Today is Sunday, September 21st. My name is Angela, and I am a front-end developer and software engineer in St. Paul, Minnesota, with a cup of coffee. How is everybody doing today? Oh, I should probably mute my mic when I do that. On this channel, we practice HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and we are smack dab in the middle of a project that we started yesterday where we are building the user interface, not a full stack Instagram app, just the user interface for an Instagram profile grid. And I took a quick screenshot of Tori Spelling, who I follow on Instagram, and I'm not copying her images and her information or content exactly. We have, I'm using my dog Heidi as a profile, and we have stock images from Unsplash, and we went through yesterday and we wrote all of the HTML. Today, I feel very good about getting this styled. Of course, if we don't get it styled all today, that's fine. We can finish next weekend. I don't mind doing that at all, but I would like to try and get this styled today. So that is my plan. And I was pretty happy with how quickly we got the HTML written yesterday. However, we do tend to get the HTML part of things done pretty quickly. It's the styling. So Malik Robinson is here. Hello all. Welcome. Also known as Go Elmo Go. And Monique Robinson is here. Two Robinsons, not related, just a coincidence. Both mods in the chat. Rita Kwan is here. Good morning, Rita. Nice to see you. Welcome. We are happy to have you. Do me a favor. First of all, if this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm here every weekend doing front-end development. I don't use frameworks or libraries. In the real world, of course, I use those things. But on this channel, I just like to practice vanilla CSS and vanilla JavaScript. So nothing against frameworks or libraries. I just really enjoy the basics. And I think not enough developers understand the basics. So the point of this is to just promote people practicing. If you feel like you are having trouble with CSS or vanilla JavaScript, try just do a couple of personal projects where you use vanilla. You don't need a compiler, you don't need a package manager, you don't need Node. You just need index.html, style.css, and scripts.js. That's all you need, and you can still build something really cool. So so if you're new here, do me a favor and like the video. It helps the algorithm. Maybe we can push this out to more people who are interested in this type of content. And if you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and do so. I would love to have you. We are here every weekend. So let's get started, shall we? I did another thing, which is that I added more images. I only had 7 images. So I went back in my own collection, and I have a huge collection of stock images from Unsplash. So I just grabbed a big chunk of images that I already had downloaded, and I added them to this list. They all have alt text. I think they're all working just fine. I took a peek at, we'll go ahead and take a peek at the front end, which we hadn't really done yet. So we have more than 7 images to scroll through. I have loading equals lazy. I know that Instagram does have a more of an intentional load more when you scroll through somebody's profile. We're not going to do that here. I'm just going to implement loading equals lazy for loading. Plus the images are well optimized. So that also makes a difference. Yeah. Let me see here. Pinned post times 3. I think honestly some of these are like pinned reel, right? So we had 3 pinned posts. But also some are reels. I think I'll take out, you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We'll deal with it when we get to it. It's not one of life's, it's not a huge mystery or a thing we need to figure out right now. eFootball Gamer is here. Welcome. Good morning, eFootball Gamer, or whatever time of day it is where you are. We're happy to have you. So we do have a style.css. Let's get this linked here. I would also like to, well, let's go ahead and hit stop this and start it again. So we can see that things look a little crazy. That's okay. Ooh, look at that pin. It's a little different perspective when it's this giant, huh? Here's all of our images. These are the images that I already had in my collection. Oh, looks like we're missing some. We'll find those. Or we'll just take them out. Let's grab normalize. Normalize.css is a browser reset. I would sort of consider it like a more of a gentle browser reset. Browsers are pretty consistent nowadays. When I started learning back in 2009, 2010, browsers were wildly inconsistent, and we were still dealing with really old versions of Internet Explorer. And it's not like that anymore, but there are still inconsistencies in browsers, and it is still a good idea to use a reset. And I personally enjoy normalize, but you can use whatever you like. So let's go ahead and get this linked. We also want to grab some font from Google Fonts, and we worked on another Instagram project last weekend. Let's see here. What did we work on? Let's find it here. I can't remember what it's called. And we are looking for DM Sans. DM Sans. Let's use this again because I think this looked great when we used it last weekend. And just going to copy this. So we're set up now to write our CSS. I generally will just copy this in and comment it out. So I just have an easy copy. We have our fonts, normalize, our style sheet all linked, and we can double check to make sure that this is working. Let's see here. Go to inspect. I'll check the network. And we can see here now that everything is linked and coming through. So, yay. No one is here. Just finished my portfolio and shortlisting universities while watching your stream. I watch you because you keep it real, no fake hope, just raw. Well, I hope that I give you a little bit of hope. Well, you said no fake hope. I do think sometimes people want me to, I don't know what people, I can only speculate. I think I would love to tell people that things are slightly better than they are right now. I think AI and the overhiring that took place in 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, those things are all kind of coming to a head now, aren't they? So the mass tech layoffs plus I mean, it's rough. I totally acknowledge that it's rough. I still wholeheartedly believe that there is a need for good software engineers. What I want people to understand is, and I've worked with these types of developers and engineers before. There is a type of developer who just wants to sit in the corner and complete tasks. They and there's nothing wrong with just doing your job description and going home and living your life. Believe me, there is nothing wrong with that. But I've worked with developers who needed everything laid out for them. They didn't really lift a finger to do any kind of requirements gathering, ask questions, be a part of conversations about best practices, things like that. And those are the developers who, in my opinion, are going to struggle to find jobs. So what I really want people to be able to do is just be really good problem solvers, ask questions, learn how to do some requirements gathering, learn a little bit about what it takes to be a good BA, a business, like kind of an analyst almost, because I think that the majority of developers are going to end up working on small to medium sized teams where everything isn't perfectly laid out in a perfect agile scrum type methodology. People are going to be working in multiple roles, being asked to do multiple things, and I just really think more developers need to be willing to have conversations, push back on their leadership teams when bad ideas are being presented, and be good communicators. So I hope I don't think you really asked me a question. I hope that that's a good response to your comment. And also, thank you and good luck on your search for universities. I am a big fan of higher education. I've basically been a professional student my entire adult life. Plus, I worked for a university for 7 years, so I'm a fan. I'm a fan of higher education. So, all right, should we get started? Sometimes I feel like I talk too much. Okay. And if we need some JavaScript here, we'll go ahead and add it. But I don't think there's really anything here that requires like even DOM manipulation. So let's just do some base styles, starting with some variables. So I always just kind of do black and white. For black, I rarely use pure black. I do kind of like a dark charcoalish gray. I'll do a gray and a light gray. Oops. And again, these are just colors that I've kind of discovered over the years. Let's do a little color picking here as well. And I think this is more like this is a different blue. Maybe this is more like teal or an aqua. Yeah. And then we want to make sure. I feel like I see 3 different shades of gray here. So, and I was also watching the stream back yesterday. Well, I was editing yesterday's stream and I was thinking to myself, I think the difference here is regular versus bold. So strong, we would use the strong element. But clearly, this is a much lighter gray. And I don't see this lighter gray being used anywhere else. Maybe here, but let's just color pick some of these. And I mean, we can use them, but I guess my point is to implement this bold, we're going to make sure that we style the strong element, and we'll just put strong in because that's an inline element, right? So any place we see bold, we'll just put in our strong element, our strong tags. Let's see. So maybe that should be our black. Yeah, that works. And then this could be our strong. They're almost identical. And then what's this? We'll do medium gray. So kind of thinking I'll take those out. I don't think we're going to need those. So we've got white, black, strong, gray, aqua, blue. And then what's this gray color? That's actually very close to what we did have. So that can be the light gray. And then I feel like this up here, the 1.6K, and this for the non-active buttons looks pretty similar. Yeah, I'm going to make an executive decision that we use this color gray for this text and these buttons. That is my executive decision. And I think that that pretty much covers everything. And I think that that's also the same. Yeah, that's the same as the strong color there. So let's do black, blacker, dark black, light black, charcoal. Let's do charcoal. Charcoal. Is that how you spell charcoal? Charcoal. No, C-O-A-L. Okay, I'm good with this naming convention. So I think we have our colors now. And I know that you can use lots of different types of variables in root. I tend to just use it for colors, but there's no limit, obviously. So let's add HTML. We're going to change our box sizing to border box. I also like to do wildcard elements. Whoops. And we'll also do box sizing here. And then we'll start with the body. I always say padding and margin 0. Oops. Let's grab our fonts. And then font size 100%. I like to set my line height to 1.65. Line height is meant to be a unitless number. I think the browser, I know the browser will take a value like pixels or rems, but it's intended to be a unitless number, and it is a multiple of your font size. I also like to set a background color. Even if it's just white, make sure that you do have a background color in. And then we'll set our color, like our normal text color is going to be charcoal. And then we will change it as needed. Let's see. Mumbai server, good evening, ma'am. Mumbai, I think that you've been on a couple of the daily lives. Welcome. Happy to have you. Do you use Tailwind CSS? I don't. I've never used Tailwind. Nobody's ever asked me to use it, so I haven't used it. I know. I tend to learn what is needed. There's so many things to learn, right? And nobody's asked me to use it yet. So Thor is here. Welcome, Thor. Hello, welcome. We're happy to have you. All right. Let's see here. No one says, yesterday I was checking portfolios of devs from developed countries on LinkedIn for inspiration, and many don't even have a personal website, just a GitHub bio. Since you're from there, why is that? I don't know. I can tell you, I can speculate. When I was working and I had a job, I had a portfolio website, and I let it sit for years completely untouched, gathering dust, because I had a job. I didn't feel like I needed a portfolio, so I just didn't prioritize it. And then, of course, I decided to quit my job and to be a freelancer, contractor, content creator again. And then I immediately was like, oh, actually, I need to redo my website and make a portfolio. So I'm speculating that that's the reason why, that if you have a job, you don't see a need. I do think it's important, especially if you're looking for that first job. I can tell you that as a former hiring manager, I wanted to see a portfolio because I just wanted to see a new developer have an idea, start something, finish something, deploy something. So I didn't really even care what the portfolio was, how it looked, or what was in the portfolio. I just wanted to see that you could come up with an idea, start a project, finish a project, deploy a project. I think that's really important. Beyond that, I can only tell you my own behavior. I can't speculate on, I can only speculate on what other people do. So, Mumbai server says you should use it. So I think, Tailwind, you want me to use Tailwind.css? I mean, yeah, if I found myself in a situation where I needed to for a project that I was on, or if I was hired for a contract job and the project was in Tailwind, yeah, I would definitely try it. I have nothing against it. The reason I use vanilla CSS on this channel is because I enjoy the basics. So I did have somebody come into the chat once and say, you would get your stuff done a lot faster if you just used Tailwind. And I was like, yeah, I know, but that's not the point. So it will help you to make a responsive website in a very easy way. You don't have to make a different file for CSS. You can directly apply it to the HTML. So I appreciate your feedback, but you might be missing the point of why I'm using vanilla CSS. I use vanilla CSS because I want to understand the core foundational concepts of CSS. I'm not trying to do things easier or faster. I'm trying to do things in a way that is thorough. I also don't think that the way I'm doing it is hard or difficult at all, because I build so many personal projects now with vanilla CSS. It is very easy for me. So I appreciate the feedback, and if you enjoy using Tailwind, please, by all means, use it. However, don't lose sight of some of the basics. And my best example of this is a junior developer that I worked with who spent tens of thousands of dollars on a boot camp and could build a React app, but this person did not understand the difference between display inline and display inline block, or display block for that matter. This person did not know the difference between a div and a span. This person did not understand basic positioning. She didn't understand the difference between position relative, position fixed, position absolute. She'd never heard of z-index. She didn't know what that was or what it was used for. My point being that just because you can use a library or use a framework doesn't mean you understand some of the basics. And when you're a new developer in a new organization, you're going to get legacy code, spaghetti CSS files, and not everything is going to be a shiny new Tailwind project, React project, insert your library or framework here. And your life may be a little easier if you understand some of the basics. That's my point. Also, I just really enjoy it. When I started streaming a year ago, somebody asked me to do vanilla CSS, and I had been a Sass user for over a decade. And I actually started the stream saying out loud, I said I would use vanilla CSS, but I really don't want to. And then, of course, I did it anyways. Now I've made the decision to only use vanilla CSS, and it has changed everything about how I work and how I write CSS for the better. So I just really enjoy the process, and I have nothing but respect for people who enjoy using frameworks and libraries. This is just the choice that I made, and I do feel very strongly about the fact that more developers need to understand some basics. That's all. So, but listen, Mumbai server, can I please tell you how much I enjoy the fact that you are joining my streams, you are in the chat, you are kind, you are respectful, and you are sharing your opinions. I love it. Please don't stop. Don't stop. I love having you here. So, okay. So there's that. All right, so we have our basic styles here. Let's go ahead and just do some things like figure. I always take the margin off because it's a pain in the butt. Images. I'm going to change the images to display block. Max width 100%. Height auto. Make them nice and responsive. So for SVGs by default are display inline. I almost always change SVGs to display block, but in light of our design and what we have going on here, a lot of our SVGs I do want to still naturally be inline, so I'm going to do display inline block, so we have the benefit of an inline element that we can put margin and padding on, which you can't really do with an inline element. So we'll say display inline block. And then just to wrangle in some of our styles, let's do a width of 3 rems and a height of 3 rems, just to get the document under control. The other thing that we need to do, there, you can already see that we've wrangled in a whole bunch of stuff there. So the other thing that we need to do is we need to go through our document. And this is really common with Ionicons. So any place where we see stroke current color, we want to remove current color. And that's so we can style it with CSS. If you don't do that, you're going to have a hard time. You're going to have a hard time styling. So we're going to take out current color, but we're not going to remove the attribute. We're just going to leave it empty. Yeah. So what I like to do then is I'll say stroke. Let's change it to black. Black or charcoal? We'll do charcoal. And then if there's a fill, we'll go ahead and put charcoal on that as well. So we're kind of covering our bases. Now you can see here that it's not getting the purple color of the link because it said current color. So that updates that. And then we will most likely come back and we will be adjusting some of this. Then for our buttons, I'm going to say border none, background color, transparent, and then padding. I'm going to take the padding off the buttons. Buttons by default are display inline block, and we may come back and adjust some of this, but you can see now our buttons are cleaned up. All of these things are buttons. Nice and tidy. What else do we want to do? Oh, we need some styles for access hidden. Those are our screen reader friendly styles. And I'm going to just grab that from my GitHub. Grab it from our last project. There we go. Here's our access hidden styles. Now anything with access hidden, like the verified, I don't think we had a ton of access hidden. Let's check and see if there's anything else here that I normally put in. Well, and actually this is a good one to check. So let's sort of shape our container now. So I'm going to do, this is definitely a mobile first project, right? So by mobile first, I'm going to put in some desktop styles to constrain, and we'll use min width for that. And we'll have to change some of these. What is our container? So our container is, we probably want to do this on the body. How did we do it last time? We did it on main, and we did not use a header or a footer. So I am going to do this on the body. So let's just do a body class container. And I don't think we need that. Container. with an aspect ratio of 9:16, height auto, max height, DVH, dynamic viewport, margin 0, auto to center. Did I put... The body might not be the best way to do this. It might be better to wrap everything. The header, the main, and the footer. Oh, I put a background color of black on the body. That's why. Okay, I was confused for a moment. That does seem like a better way to go. There we go. Okay, that works. And then these are desktop only styles on the container. What else did we do here? Wow, short-term memory. So we put a height of 100 VH, display flex. How did I forget all of this? Display flex. But I don't think we need to do this on the body. I don't know. I don't think I even needed to do this on the body because there was only one child element in the body. But 100 VH would be a good thing to put in there. I'm actually going to do DVH, dynamic viewport height. Yep, I'm good with this. So there's our container. And eFootball Gamer says, I am currently using vanilla CSS for all my projects. I want to build strong fundamentals first, so I'm getting confident day by day in CSS. Whoops. Once I feel solid, I'll move to frameworks like Tailwind or Sass. I would recommend Sass. I personally like Sass. And Malik says he feels the same way. I love making websites with vanilla. Frameworks are just the foundations of a language, but easier. Yeah, I think that Sass and vanilla CSS are very, very similar. The main difference being, well, there's lots of differences. The nesting, being able to do includes and mix-ins and things like that. But we also have a lot, like vanilla CSS is incredibly powerful when you can define even just variables in a root element. So Manu is here. Hello, welcome. Mumbai Server says, do you design CSS after completing the whole HTML? And if so, then why? That's how I was taught. So I was taught to do all of the HTML first and then write the CSS. I think that that's a good way to structure. I just, why do I do that? I just think it's a good way, it's a good best practice to do one thing at a time. It forces you to sit and really think about the structure of your HTML, especially when it comes to responsiveness. I mean, in my opinion, how you organize the DOM is really the responsive view of your elements, right? I feel like the desktop styles are, the layout where we're shifting and moving and building grids and things like that. And a lot of times the responsive version of something is just how the DOM is naturally built. So if you're having trouble with responsiveness, try to think of it in that way. It's incredibly important, the structure of the DOM, especially for search engine optimization when it comes to template hierarchy, the elements that you use, the way you structure your headings, and then that naturally feeds into screen readers. The HTML and the structure. Think about how a screen reader is going to move through the page and read off elements, read off headings, read off ARIA labels. Making sure that, just as an example, a button for your navigation naturally comes immediately before the nav element. And then once that drawer is closed, where does the focus naturally return to? So the HTML and the structure deserves your full attention, in my opinion, before any CSS is written. So Manu also was wondering, I assume you're saying, Manu, that you were wondering the same thing that Mumbai Server asked. So, I love this question. I love this question. I heard before Flexbox, devs mostly used the float property, and I even made a small homepage with just float, no flex or grid, to see how layouts worked back then. I avoided learning Flexbox for literal years because I was so good at building layouts with float. I didn't need it. I had it down pat. And then I finally had a job. I was at an agency where they were using Flexbox, so I was kind of like very reluctantly, grudgingly forced to learn Flexbox. And of course, I fell in love with it, and I've been using Flexbox ever since. It was the reason I never bothered to learn Grid, because I love Flexbox so much. But yes, I was very, very, very good at building layouts using float. And for a long time, I didn't want to learn anything else because I was like, I don't need anything else. I know what I'm doing. And of course, that was crazy. Flexbox is amazing. But yes, you heard correctly. Those were the days. Those were the days. I mean, so to give you context on how long I've been doing this, I started learning HTML and CSS in 2009. It was the end of 2009. And in the beginning of 2010, I wanted to build a website for my mom, who she's retired now, but at the time she had a small business. And I was trying to watch courses on lynda.com, and they were just so advanced and over my head. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand CSS. It just made no sense to me. So I took a beginning web design class at my local community college, North Hennepin Community College in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. It was a beginning HTML and CSS class. It was taught by the lead developer who worked for the University of Minnesota. I can't remember her name, but I remember what she looked like. Like, I have a very clear picture in her head. And it was a 2-week course on Tuesday and Thursday for 2 weeks. And she taught that course using Adobe Dreamweaver, and we were taught to use layouts in tables. And I didn't know any better, and that's how they did it back then. And let me tell you, though, when I tell you I was off and running, I went home after that first week and I built an entire website for my mom. I bought a domain name. I figured out how to deploy it. I learned how to use FTP. After that point, I was unstoppable. I really, really enjoyed doing that. But in the very early days, it was all table-based layouts, and I am old enough to remember when it was being taught that way. So I feel like I've kind of been around the block, and I've seen so many iterations of how far things have come. So, and Mumbai Server says he's designing his web page simultaneously. So you must mean that you're writing some HTML and writing some CSS. Probably my mind says correct it. Well, give it a try, Mumbai Server. I mean, if you were here for yesterday's stream, I'm thinking that maybe you weren't here for yesterday's stream, but all of my projects, I think people can probably like back me up here. This is my process, is that I am doing the pretty much the full HTML first. Try it. Do a small project and try it and see how you like it. That's how I was taught to do it. I actually learned that from doing a Chris Coyier tutorial on building WordPress themes. When I wanted to start building my own custom WordPress themes way back in the day, I don't do WordPress anymore. He taught a class on taking a Photoshop mockup, writing all of the HTML first, and then writing all the CSS. And that's how I've always done it. And I really, it works for me. So try it. Yeah, see it. See if you like it, right? You got nothing to lose. You got nothing to lose, right? Okay. All right, let's get back to it. I'm going to buckle down and blast through some of our styles. I'm not in a hurry today, although I want to respect the time of the mods. So mods, if you need to drop off, I understand, but I really want to get this done today, and I think we can. And if you have questions or comments in the chat and I don't answer right away, please don't be offended. I'm just want to blast through some of the styles, but I promise you I will stay and respond to everything because I really enjoy talking to you guys. All right, so let's start with our header. Can I increase my volume? Let me see. Maybe I can get a little closer to the mic. Does this help? Let me know if this helps. Let me see. I don't want to increase it too much because I kind of blow it up sometimes. Let me know if that helps, Mumbai. That seems a little high to me. Let me know if that helps. I don't want to bust out anybody's eardrums. And could you split the Chrome window so to the side? Let me see. Whoops. Stop. How about that? This is a little tight for me. I'll try it. I'll try it. You know what? Well, I do have the markup here, don't I? I'll try it. If it gets to be, if this is a gets to be a little too tight for me, I'll let you know. There we go. Let me know if you can see that a little better. Okay, let's start with our header. Yep, I'm using word wrap, so. Okay, so I'm gonna do flex blacks. Row, no wrap. Justify content. Line item center. We probably also want to make sure that and I'm going to keep this. No, we can keep this here because it controls the body. I'm going to do header, main, footer, background color, white. There we go. Let's also make sure that we've got some padding. And this is about 28 pixels of padding. I need Chrome's inspect tool, so I need Chrome's inspect tool to see the markup in order to style it. Hopefully that makes sense. So we'll put, let's see here, 28 pixels. I know that that's going to be way too much. That's, well, it's 1.75 rems. That's a lot. We can try it. Right now I want to put that on the body. There we go. Yeah, that makes sense. Here's that button. Here's our H1. These are naturally aligned because they're display inline block. So on header left. I'm also going to do display flex. Flex flow, row, no wrap. And for justify content, I'm going to do flex start. There we go. And then let's do align items center. Let's see here. And then let's take that's our primary header. Let's get rid of that margin, 0. And I almost always change my line height on headings to 1.25. I think I'm just going to change it to 1 for now. That helps. There we go. And then let's, we need to wrangle in that SVG. So here's our button. That's our button for the back arrow. Here's our H1 span. And actually, I was thinking about changing this markup. I don't think we need all this markup for the verified. Yeah, this is, sorry, I can't do it. I need more space. It's just too crowded for me. So I'm gonna have to go back and forth. Sorry about that. I just need more space. There we go. So here's our verified. I don't think we need this extra markup that I put in yesterday. I think we could just do, I'm going to take this span off. And I think I'm just going to put verified on the SVG, just like that. Because our word is hidden with access hidden. Yeah. And then we can style the SVG directly. Verified. It's pretty small, so maybe width 1 rem, height 1 rem, and then the, what is it, fill is aqua. There we go. It's pretty tiny. There we go. It might be better if we style it this way, actually. Yeah, I think this is going to be a better way to style this. And that is way too much padding. That is way too much padding. I think 1 rem of padding is much better. And then these buttons, I mean, these don't really have that tap target for accessibility, do they? But if we want this to, I mean, look at how wildly out of proportion this is. And we need to take down the size of that H1 also. That helps. Although we could still have the tap target, I have to remind myself of this. We can still have the tap target We just need to reduce the size of the SVG. So for any button with a class of icon button, let's just change the size of the SVG, but keep the size of the button. So our buttons by default, our buttons by default are getting a width and a height of 3 rems, which gives us the 48 by 48 tab target. And our buttons are naturally that size. So let's just do a couple extra global styles here. So we'll say icon button. Width 3 rems, height 3 rems, and then we'll give this some padding of 1 rem, and then our icon button SVG will have a width of 1 rem and a height of 1 rem. A little small. So if we've got 1.5 and 1, I think we have to change this to there we go. So now our button is still 48 by 48. Our SVG is 24 by 24, and this is way more proportional. But our button is not aligned, and we don't need to use Flexbox or anything like that. I think we just need to adjust our padding, and it's going to snug it up right in the middle. So 0.75 plus 0.75 is 1.5, plus the SVG is 1.5, which is the 3 rems right there. That's perfect. Beautiful. So it is a little further apart maybe than this, but we still have our tap target now, and it's proportional. So that looks great now. Love that. And then here's our H1, which we need to shift so we may want to put Flexbox on the H1 just so we can get it aligned on the x-axis, right? Unless we want to change, sometimes you can change the line height of something to fake that, right? We used to do that all the time. It doesn't work that well though. So let's just go ahead and put Flexbox on the primary header, and then we'll get the control over aligning this. Or I suppose we could just reduce the size of the SVG. No, I'm going to just put Flexbox on the primary header. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There we go. And then we'll just give it a little gap. 0.5 rems, which is about 8 pixels. There. Look at that. We love that. I love it. And then well, let's keep going. We may not need all this padding on the header. We're going to have to come back and adjust our padding once we get the rest of these styles implemented. All right, there's our header. Literally the easiest header I've ever styled. All right, let's get into the main. Oops. And I have someone I want to say hello to. Sorry, Manu, I'm doing my best to meet everybody's needs. I have to do what's comfortable also, though, and it drives me crazy sometimes to be side by side. So, do you usually use the IDE's debugger or just console log? I've always stuck with console log and never tried the debugger. I usually use console log most of the time. Emilio is here. Welcome, Emilio. We're so happy to see you. We are so happy to have you. All right. So our header is done. Beautiful. Here's the main. So the first is the profile. I am also going to display flex this. I might be using display flex on this entire thing. Row no wrap, justify content, space, space between, and align items center. And then let's give it a gap. Whoops. We'll give it a gap of 1 rem. See how it goes. There we go. Let's get that image under control. So our figure, I'm going to make figure elements by default are block level elements. I generally give the figure, the container, not the image, the width and the height. So what do we think that is? About 50 by 50, which would be what? 3. Let's do it in rems. So 50 divided by 16, 3.125. 3.125 rems. We can adjust that if we need to. And I'm going to say border radius. Whoops. Border radius, 50%, overflow, hidden. Oh, and we need a little more specificity here. So we're going to have to say profile figure, and then we'll do profile image. Well, really, I'm going to say auto, and I'm going to set the aspect ratio to 1 to 1, so it's a square. And then I'm going to say width 100%, height 100%, object fit cover. Whoops, what happened here? Figure, profile figure. Oops, what happened? Align items. There we go. Obviously that's too small. Probably maybe want that to be about, trying to use rems. I had a comment on one of my videos saying, well, you really interchange pixels and rems a lot. So I got a little more clarity on when it's okay to interchange, when it's appropriate, and I am trying to use rems as often as possible. So there's that. Maybe 150. So that would be 9.375. Yeah, that's a little bit better. And then I think we want to give this a width. So the profile meta I'm going to give this a width of 100% minus the width of the figure. Well, and then we should take out the gap. So really it should be 10.375. And then profile meta also needs flexbox. Justify content, space, I think space between, yeah. And I think we can give this a gap of maybe 0.5 rems. Oh, meta, actually, that should be on the meta count container. There we go. No, we still need this to be on profile meta. There we go. I think this image is still a little big, huh? Let's try 8. Let's try 8 rems. That's a little better. Maybe a little smaller so we can get those borders in there. I would love to not need the width on that. So let's take out the width. Let's give this more gap, and instead it should be, oh, let's change that to 7. I just hate doing this type of width if I don't need to. Put the gap back in. And then for this, I think this just needs more gap. And that's going to space it out correctly. And then instead of space between, we probably want flex start. Boom! Look at that. We love that. And then, yeah, that's perfect. Okay. And then this needs to be uppercase. So here's the profile meta. It's the name. So are those bold? Yeah. So posts, followers, following is our normal content. But these values are bold. And I think this is also bold, but it's also uppercase and a little bit smaller. So let's just strong tags. We need styles for strong. That's what I was forgetting. So let's just go right here. So what are our, we have everything, right? Do I still have my fonts pulled up? No. Let's go back and look at our fonts on Google. So we're using regular 400. We've also got okay, so we've got a 500, a 600, a 700, an 800. I am partial to, I think, 600. So not super bold, but like a little bit bold. So let's do strong font weight 600. And then let's change the color to black, whereas the color by default is charcoal. And then we'll put in strong here. Although the strong element means something, right? It emphasizes something. So should we just be MDN strong. The strong importance element. The strong element indicates that its contents have strong importance, seriousness, or urgency. Browsers typically render the contents in bold. The strong element is for content that is of strong importance, including things of great seriousness or urgency, such as warnings. Okay, so now I don't think we should use strong. We've styled strong, but using strong as a styling tool, I think, is a bad idea. So we have classes here for count. We'll just go ahead and use our classes. So I'm glad I looked at that because we do want to be semantic. We want to be semantic for screen readers, for SEO, for accessibility. We want to use those things correctly, not just for styling. So we can take this out and we'll just go ahead and style count. So I'm going to say font weight 600 and color is black. There we go. Perfect. Now let's style name. And this is text transform, uppercase. Oops. Also font weight 600 and font size. I'm going to just slightly decrease the size to 0.9 rems and change the color. We might need to increase the font weight. Yep, we do. It's not enough. 600 is not enough. So let's go ahead and increase to 700. So for our count, I think it's perfect. I think for the name, it needs to be a little bolder. Maybe for the name, this could be 800. And I think we could also add like a pixel of letter spacing. We're so close. There. What do we think? I love it. I love it. Okay. So now we need to put a border around the profile image, and I've done this. I'm going to go to my GitHub and show you the code where I've done this, because the border is a gradient, which you can't exactly do that with a border, but you can fake it. So let's go find it. And I did that recently on my own personal website. Let's see here. Right here. So I put in a border. I'll make this a little bigger. So I put in a border, a 2-pixel border solid, and then I did a border image with a linear gradient. And this is all Sass. This is on my personal website, which is all Sass. So I do use frameworks and libraries in other big projects. So we'll have to adjust this a little bit. But I'm going to copy this. So on our image, I'm actually going to put this let's do a pseudo class. Profile, figure, we'll use before. And I'm going to make this position relative. And I'm going to make this position absolute. Whoops. And our width is 7 rems. And I want it to be outside. So I'm going to make the width 8 rems. And the height is also going to be 8 rems. Also border radius. We're going to have to play with it. I guarantee it's not going to be perfect right out of the gate. And then I'll just do inset. No, need a little more. Top, negative 0.5 rems, and left, negative 0.5 rems. We're going to have to adjust this a little bit. Well, first, let's just make sure that we can actually get it to work. So we're going to do a linear gradient, bottom to right. Let's just try. I'm just trying anything just to see how it works, just to see if I can get it to work. Oh, and we probably need some z-index too. Oh, and it's not working because of the overflow. So let's put the I suppose we could just put the border radius on the image. Image. You can't hide the overflow, or the pseudo elements won't work because you won't be able to see them. You can't put pseudo elements on an image. I have to think. Let's ask our friend for help, shall we? Because I'm not immediately thinking of the best approach for this. I just need a hint. Let's ask for help. What is the best approach for a gradient border around an image like this? I've used what is it? Border image in the past to fake it, but I am also using border radius and overflow hidden, which hides it. Let's let ChatGPT think for a moment. Oh, Emilio, all is good. Just got done with a 4-hour test. I am dead, so YouTube to recharge. Wow. I don't know how you have the stamina to do that. I remember those days in grad school. It was awful. Madhav is here. Hello. Madhav is also a developer. Yep, we are building the UI for an Instagram profile grid. That is what we are working on. We did all the HTML yesterday, and we are working on the CSS today. And anybody here into AI machine learning? I mean, I use AI, but not specifically machine learning. No. Okay, so we have a response. Short answer, don't use border image for this. Use a transparent border and multiple backgrounds with background clip or a pseudo element donut. Both play nicely with border radius and don't get eaten by overflow hidden. Here's the cleanest version, no pseudo element. Okay, so avatar is, in our case, it's a figure with a class of figure. ChatGPT is using div with the class of avatar, then the image. Okay, conic gradient. And it also gave us a little assist here with some hex codes. Ring W, gap. Width, aspect ratio, border radius, overflow hidden. Transparent border holds the gradient. Border, calc, var, ring, plus var, gap, solid transparent. Two backgrounds, white gap on the padding box, gradient on the border. Why it works. Okay. The transparent border creates space for the ring. Background, white, padding box, gradient, border box, paints the white inner ring on the padding box and the gradient on the border box. Border radius is honored automatically and overflow hidden only clips the image, not the ring. If you ever need more control, like variable ring width per side, use a pseudo element with a radial mask. But for most story ring avatars, the first transparent border and background clip approach is the simplest and most robust. Let's give it a shot. So let's go ahead. Okay, so let's copy this into our variables. This is the perfect stuff for ChatGPT right here. So we want on our container to be width 220, aspect ratio 1, border radius 50%, overflow hidden. So width, so I'm not going to change, well, I'll change the width. Oh, that's the wrong thing. Right here. So I don't think we need that. Don't need that. Transparent border holds the gradient. Two backgrounds, white gap. Okay. Width, height, object fit, we're already display block, border radius, inherit. I'm just going to add the value. Okay, that's pretty close. Hang on, we're missing something. This, the background. Well, wait a second. Okay, so this almost works. This almost works. The white ring isn't happening though. See if we can figure out why. Take this out. Two backgrounds. White gap on the padding box. Gradient on the border box. I'm going to take a picture of this so I can show what's not working. Oh, wrong one. Almost. The white border does not appear. Okay, so you need padding for that inner white ring. Set the gradient thickness as the border and the white ring as padding. Okay, so, well, we already have a color of white, so I'm not going to add that. So white ring equals padding, gradient ring equals border. Okay. And then we're changing. Okay. So for the conic gradient, can't I just put in ring? I think so. And then for gap color, I'm going to put in white. And then gap W, ring W, I have that. White, padding box, conic gradient, ring. Padding border background, white, white, padding box, conic gradient, bar ring border box. Maybe I need to put it in. Whoops. Okay, there it was. That was it. It just didn't work with my variable wasn't working. So now let's just adjust. I think we just need to adjust some of our padding. Actually, going to take out these variables and we're just going to roll our own. So I'm going to do 0.5 rems. And then for the border, which was ring W, 14 pixels. So we don't need these variables. And then for this, the actual border size, I'm going to do the same size, 0.5 rems. Boom! How close does that look? Oh, we could do a little skinnier, and also we need to adjust our colors a little bit too. This should actually be yellow. Let's make it just a little skinnier. Yeah. And then instead of the purple and the blue, we want it to be a little more, so this is like kind of light purple, reddish on the top and bottom, and then yellow. I'm just going to color pick this yellow and swap out. This. I'm going to swap out here. And then so close, so close. And then this. Swap out right there. There. That's pretty good. Close enough. I think that's close enough. And then let's just adjust the width of our image. Yeah. What was it before? 125 pixels. So 7. I'm going to change it to 7 rems. That's what we had it at before. Well, there you go. And we'll leave these comments in for anybody else. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, let's keep going. Where are we at on time here? An hour 45. We might end up finishing this next weekend. I foolishly thought that we would get through all of this today. There's still a lot left to do. So let's keep going. I know I said earlier that I was here for all of it. But then I face reality and how much I'm actually getting done. It's okay. But this looks great. I'm so happy with this. Once again, I'm just loving this project. So let's see here. Yeah, we're really going to have to adjust. I'm going to make one adjustment to the padding on my top level elements here. So I'm going to do no padding on the top and bottom and just on the left and right. There, that looks a little better. Well, but for the header, no, we'll keep the padding. We really need to finish everything before I adjust that padding. I need to see everything. It's in its entirety. Maybe we can just have padding on the top, padding on the left and right, and no padding on the bottom. Yeah, that's better. Okay, Angela, focus. All right, so here's our description. I'm not really worried about the description at all. We could definitely write a custom description. I think that looks fine though. We really just want to style our remaining paragraph tags. We should give these last two paragraph tags custom classes so we can style them specifically, although they're already in line. So how much styling do they need? We just need to style the SVGs, right? And we need to put in styles for our links. Let's do that. And we also need to take, well, there's a little bit of margin, but there's not that much margin. So and anything that is an @ is styled with blue, which we don't have anything like that. So that's like an internal Instagram link that when you're linking to another profile or user. But these links are not styled blue. They're just bold. Yeah. So, and those would all be within our description. So specific to the description. So I mean, obviously Instagram is using JavaScript or a framework or something to detect that, right? Which I'm not really going to do here. If I was going to do anything like this, I would put it inside of an anchor element, and then I would just use a class to style it. Okay. So see, sometimes I just have to talk it through. Just have to talk it through. So let's do some global styles to account for that. So we've got two types of anchor links. We've got one that's bold, and we've got one that's like not a hashtag, but like an @ symbol. I'm gonna do that right here. So we have an anchor link. We'll just say anchor links by default, the color is blue. And text decoration, whoops. Text decoration, none. Whoops. And then let's make sure that we have focus, hover, and active. So I think instead of text decoration none, we would actually want, I'm gonna go peek at my GitHub. Do I have links though? See, this is another reason to keep a GitHub, because I don't remember anything. Not a darn thing. Okay. Here we go. So what I generally like to do is this. Not all of it, most of it. So normally in the old days, I would do text decoration none. I'll take that off. Now I'm going to do text decoration color transparent, text decoration thickness 3 pixels, and I'm actually going to change this to 2, and then text underline offset, and I'm going to change that to 5. And then on focus, hover, or active, I'm going to change the text decoration color to blue. And then I'm going to transition the text decoration color decoration color 300 milliseconds, ease in out. So this is for our normal links. So this should work here now. Just like that. But of course, those have a different style, and I am going to adjust the offset. But those have a nice transition now. We'll just say bold. We're just going to do a style of bold. Not strong. And really, we could combine this though. Bold, and let's change this to 700. And then let's give these links a class of bold. But they still have that blue underline, which is totally fine. Let's move this down. I think we could just adjust. I think we can just, all of this would still be the same. We would just do a separate set of these. And we would change this to black. Even though it's mobile and even though it's tap, and it's unlikely that people would, well, Instagram has a desktop version, so you would still conceivably hover. Even if they don't have this experience, I'm including it because for accessibility, it's the right thing to do to make sure that you always have a focus, hover, active state for your links. or any UI element or any element that requires a user to interact with it. It's just the right thing to do. So I am going to include it. So this is good. This covers a wide range. So any link by default is going to be blue unless that link is specifically styled with the class of bold to not be blue, which is what I feel like I'm seeing here. So let's get these SVGs under control. So I'm going to style the SVGs specific to the description parent container. Do I have a description class in here yet? Not yet. So any SVG inside the description container is going to be a width of 1.25 rems. I think that's the width and height that we've been using that works. Yeah, and they're also display inline blocks. So we should be able to put a vertical align on these, just like that, to put them in the middle. So you can see there, vertical align and display inline block work together. So that's another benefit of using default styles, right? Working with some default styles. And then we could do something like, we could just like skew it a little bit. And then let's reduce this padding a little bit. Let's just do 0.5 rems on the top, nothing on the left and right, nothing on the bottom. I should tighten it up. Yeah, that works. We might want to increase the font size a little bit. I'm going to leave it. We're going to leave it for now. We can come back and tweak some of these things. We're going to leave it for now. I do want to... Should we change out this little chat bubble? I don't know. I do want to like just sort of skew the link SVG a little bit. I think we could just do like rotate, right? So transform, rotate, 45 degrees. Is that right? Yeah, negative 45 degrees. So let's put in a different chat bubble. Let's put in the proper chat bubble. Yeah, let's put in this one. I think it's this one right here. And we'll make this aria hidden. True. And then let's make sure that we take out current color so we can style that stroke ourselves. And then let's only rotate the first of type, so we're not rotating both. So we'll do description, SVG, first of type. It's pretty specific, but it's okay. Oh, paragraph, first of type. Hang on, description, paragraph, first of type, paragraph, then SVG. There we go. Beautiful. Oh, it still didn't work though. Description, first of type, SVG. Description, paragraph, first of type. Oh. Nth of type. We'll just do that. Okay, there we go. It's very specific, but we got the look that we wanted. We got the look we wanted. This is looking so good. This is looking so good. So, okay, I think let's go to the chat. Let's see what, there's some chat. Okay. No one. I want to learn AI and machine learning, but I need to revise linear algebra and matrix manipulation. I also need to learn Python, NumPy, Pandas, scikit-learn, and matplotlib. Oh my, I always want to learn something new. I know, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. So good luck to you. I mean, I feel completely overwhelmed by the number of things that I want to learn. You just got to get up every day and take one thing at a time. But I believe you can do it. If you want to do it, you'll do it. I mean, can you imagine a life? Here's how I see it when I get really overwhelmed by all the things that I want to learn and do, all the hobbies that I want to start, all the experiences that I want to have. When I get really overwhelmed by those things, I just say to myself, could you imagine a life where you didn't ever want to learn new things? And that makes me feel better instead of overwhelmed. So when you break down a website, especially the CSS section, how do you approach it? I have problems mostly with laying out and segregating things when they get too long. I mean, my approach is exactly what you see. So I spend the first part of every project is that I just do all of the HTML. I don't even think about CSS. I look at each individual section and I just write the HTML. And then I literally approach it the same way when I'm doing the CSS. So I just start with the header. I don't worry about anything else that's happening on that page. I just deal with the header. But really, before I even start doing that, I do a lot of base styles. So I define what are my color variables. What do I know that I need to have in order, like as an example, the default browser for box sizing is content box, and I know I need it to be border box. That's a more modern way to do it. So what default styles can I put in to make sure that moving forward, I have some base styles covered? So what are the base styles that I want to use for the body? What are the base styles that I want to use for all links? What are the base styles that I want to use for images? I know that I always put images inside figure elements, and I know that the browser always gives figure elements a ton of margin. So I change these things immediately. The same with SVGs. I used to have a lot of trouble styling SVGs until I finally realized that SVGs by default are display inline. That makes it incredibly difficult to style them with width or height or margin or padding. So I set base styles. I make sure that they're either inline block or block. I give them a width and a height just as a sort of a starter default so they're not gigantic and blowing up my page. I started learning that I have to take out the inline color elements like current color or inherit in order to be able to control the stroke and the width. I've learned over the years that I need some default styles for buttons so I have more control over the styling. So approach it from a perspective of doing all your HTML first, writing some base styles that you know you need to globally control your styles, and then go in and just do one section at a time. I promise you, your own personal approach will develop with every project. You'll do a project and you'll go into it and you'll be like, I'm being so thoughtful and I'm being so thorough. And then you'll realize all the mistakes you're making. And then on the next project, you'll do it a different way. You'll try something new, and then you'll kick yourself again. You're like, oh, I thought this was such a good idea and it actually sucked. I'm having so much trouble because I approached it this way. And then you'll do the next project a little bit different, and you'll just come up with a style that works for you. So keep doing it, keep working on it, keep working on projects. I promise you, the more you do, the better you'll get, and the more you will develop a style that works for you. So have you ever used Tailwind CSS, or do you just stick to plain CSS? So I've never used Tailwind. One moment. Okay. Have you ever used Tailwind, or do you just stick to plain CSS? So I've never used Tailwind. I am not opposed to it. I've just never been hired to work on a project that used it, so I've never had a reason to learn it. I stick to plain CSS for my personal projects because I enjoy it. I've been using Sass for over a decade. So I learned Sass in 2011, 2012, something like that. And I've been using Sass for 12-ish years. I really like Sass, so I tend to use that a lot. Have you ever done CSS consulting for companies when you're fixing old CSS and bad design practices and code? Yes, I have. And usually, though, it's not for companies, it's for kind of the DIY website builders out there. And by that, I mean maybe a small business or a sole proprietor, somebody who built their own website. Maybe they used WordPress, or they spent a couple of weeks doing tutorials. They made their own, and they got themselves into like a little bit of a pickle with a layout that's broken or doesn't quite work. And I will often, maybe a handful of times over the years, I've been hired by those types of folks to help them clean up some CSS or fix a website. I used to do that a lot when I was doing WordPress. I fixed many, many, many broken WordPress websites that included CSS. So I'll work through Front-End Mentor. Their challenges seem to be thorough enough. Yeah, excellent choice. Excellent choice. I did a Front-End Mentor project on this channel. We could do another one. Their challenges are very thorough. That's an excellent resource if you're looking for ideas for projects. The free version is excellent. They have a lot going on there. So I really want to encourage people, though, to, especially for front end and building UIs, just go grab a mock-up and build it out. Or do like what we're doing, take a screenshot of a social media app or whatever, and just build it out and see how it goes. So, all right, let's keep going. Okay. Let's keep going here. So I want to do... I am looking at the time. I am looking at the time, and clearly we're not going to get through all of this today, and that's fine. So here's what I want to finish today. I want to finish this section with these 3 profile images and this right here. So there's a little overlapping here. So let's do that. Yeah, you can do the newbie or novice for beginner developers. So I would be totally open again to doing another front-end mentor challenge if somebody wanted me to do one. I'm not sure if that's a comment or a question. If anybody wants me to do another front-end mentor challenge, I'd be happy to do one. Just let me know which one you want me to do and we could work on it. I would be happy to do that. I'm not sure if that was a comment or a question. So let me know if it was. Okay, so this is the followed by section. Followed by. So we've got the profiles first, and then we've got the paragraph. So I'm going to display flex this, flex flow, row, no wrap. Every time. Justify content. Well, I'm going to do flex start. Flex start, align items, center, and I'm going to give it a gap of 1 rem. And then let's get our images under control. And then these are the followed profiles. Followed profiles figure. And these are pretty small. So I'm going to give these a width of 3 rems, height auto, aspect ratio 1:1, border radius 50%, overflow hidden. And then these also need to be, although to get the overlap, if we display flex these, so it might be better, thinking about how I'm going to get the overlap. What if we do display inline block and use like do we want to use negative margin or transform? Yeah, we're going to have inline blocks not going to work. So we are going to have to flexbox those. So that's the followed profiles. I think we can just use transform to overlap them. Followed profiles. Display flex. Flex flow, row. no rep. I know some of that's redundant. And then let's make sure that they have a border. But if I have overflow hidden, but I think we can put the, let's put the board, well, put the border on the, okay, we just did this. So padding and border, isn't border on the outside of the box? Or is it still on the inside of the box? Must be on the inside. If overflow hidden, you can still see it. Okay, so we'll say border, 2 pixels, solid, white. Okay. And then transform, translate X. If we wanted to move that way, it's positive or negative. I think it's negative. Negative 20 pixels. Oh, but it's going to move all of them at the same time. So we need to do one at a time. Okay. So we're going to do followed by profiles. Oops. Followed profiles. Figure. Oops. And I'm going to do nth of type. Just going to do 2. What happens if we just do the second one? Boom! Okay, but we got to go in the opposite direction. We're thinking. Now we're thinking. And we'll do, so we would probably want to do 1 and 2 if we're going to go in the other direction. And we would go plus 20 plus 40. Okay. Hang on, we just have a little, so there's 1. So we want to move 1 and then 2. Oh, I did this in the opposite. So we want to do this one 40 and this one 20. Oh, we're so close. Oh, maybe both 20. Okay, we're getting there. So it would probably need to be, so there's 20, and then this would be need to be 60. And then, okay, and we also, so we also need to change the stacking order. Is that it? We just need to change the stacking order. Why is this one underneath? Shouldn't it be on top? So I'm going to do a z index of 0. A z index of 1. And a z index of and that still needs to be 40. We did it. We did it. And then let's increase our border a little bit. And then we just need to shift this entire container over. Maybe not quite so much overlap. And I think they could be a little bigger. And maybe instead of translating to in this direction, we go in the other direction because we know now that we have control over the stacking order with position relative. Yeah, so let's go in the opposite direction. Although we could just, no, I want to go in the opposite direction. So we would leave the first one and just adjust the second and the third. So 2 and 3, and then go in the opposite direction. But the stacking, and then opposite stacking order. So 2 and 1. So that's on the bottom. That's 2. So this should be 1. I thought that was how I just had it. No, the stacking order would be don't tell me I got it. This would be 2. That would be 1. This would be 0. So this would be 2. So that's 2. That's 1. That's 0. This is 1. This is 0. And then let's change this a little bit. There. And then that kind of gives us a natural gap too. So we don't actually need a gap. That gives us a natural gap. Look at that. Maybe a tiny bit more overlap. So maybe instead of pixels, we could just do 1 rem. And yeah, that looks pretty good. Oh, we need to increase our border. I love it. We do need to decrease this space a little bit. So what if we just do the very bold move of putting a width on this? No, because it's going to change. Maybe it's better to just give this a little bit of translate. So then we've got the followed by paragraph. These are some pretty specific styles, but I could see, I mean, I could definitely see where these styles would be this specific because this is a very specific UI, right? So it makes sense. So we'll do a transform and I'll do a translate X. And then I guess we could just do 2 rems for this one too. Or 1. There we go. And I kind of feel like our text we're gonna have to, the text is off. The more we do, the more I feel like just the normal 400 weight text is a little bit off. This is a little bit off too. And we're not using the exact font that Instagram uses, but we're using one that's pretty close. I can just tell it doesn't seem quite right. We're gonna have to make some adjustments to it. I want to make these profile names bold plus 10 others, but we've learned not to use strong. So I'm just gonna put spans with a class of bold around those. But I do want these to be bold. And is the one word that is not bold. Okay. Oops. Yeah, it doesn't look quite right, does it? Maybe our paragraph text should just be a little bigger. Maybe our yeah, I don't know. So maybe, but do we want to make all of the paragraph text bigger? I don't know if that's a good idea. No, we don't want to make it bigger. Maybe we just want the default font weight to be a bit bigger on the body. So right now our font weight by default is 400. Maybe 500 is better. That helped. Yeah, that helped. Okay, well this was a good one. I really am enjoying making this. I did not think that this was going to be this complex. I thought it was going to go so fast. I actually thought that I was going to get it done in well under 2 hours. And here we are 2.5 hours in, and we only have this top part done. There's still a lot left to go here. So we are going to finish this next weekend. Clearly, we're going to finish this next weekend. Tell me what you think. I want to know what you think. I am just loving this. I'm so glad that I had the idea to even do this. Yeah, I think it looks great. So I think I'm gonna call it here for today. Thank you to everybody who joined. We had such a good chat today. I just love it when people come into the chat and ask questions, share their opinions, tell me what they're thinking. Everybody's respectful and nice, and yeah, I love that. I think we had, let me see here, we had Emilio, Monique, Malik, everybody was here. I think the only one that we didn't see this weekend was Rahul. Was he here yesterday? I don't remember. So, which is completely fine. Rahul, if you're watching on the replay. So thank you, everybody. Please say thank you to the mods in the chat because they are amazing. It's perfect bit by bit. Agreed. Fair. Freemind is saying line height. Adjust the line height. Oh, that's an excellent point. That is a very good point. I do have a lot of line height. Let's do that. Let's tweak that a little bit. You know, I'm actually thinking that we just didn't choose the right font. That's what I'm thinking. Although that helps. That looks a lot better. That's 1.45. I might look around and see if I can find a different font. That's what I'm thinking might be happening here, that we just don't have the right font. So I'll look around this week and see if I can find that. And yeah, we'll continue this next weekend. We'll keep going. I don't really mind spending another weekend working on this because I enjoy the process. I love the problem solving. I get frustrated sometimes when something takes longer than I think it should take, but ultimately I'm glad for that because I enjoy the problem solving. So, Monique is saying, have a great week ahead. Yes, agreed. You as well. There isn't a Discord. I don't have a Discord. I had one at one point and I decided to delete it because I didn't have time for it. So I've decided that the community is just here during the streams. For better or worse, that was the decision I made because I just don't have time to oversee a Discord. So that's just the decision that I made. Yeah, so everybody have a great rest of your day. Do me a favor, if you haven't liked the video yet, I would appreciate it so much if you gave it a like. And if you're new here and haven't subscribed yet, I'm here every weekend pretty much doing this. This is the first time I've done like a social media clone. Normally we take a mock-up and we do a desktop website and we do media queries, make it responsive, things like that. So this is kind of a different approach for me, but I'm enjoying it so much. We did Instagram Reels the last 2 weeks. That was really fun as well. So come back next weekend, we'll get the styles finished. And yeah, this is turning out to be a great project. Have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week wherever you are. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.